Hey, Curtis,
Hey, Oz,
you got a cop movie for us?
I got a cop movie for you. Here's The Marriage. That 70s show, plus The Toxic Avenger, sprinkle in some Beverly Hills Cop, a little bit of Short Circuit, as well as an ad for Gerber baby food. This week we're watching Robocop.
Robocop. I love this movie.
This movie is so awesome.
It is. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a very testosterone driven film.
Yes, it is. I was reading, and I'm sure you did, reading in the trivia that I think it was the director who said that this is what is it? What was it? It's like nihilism for liberals or something like that. It was fascism. It was fascism for liberals.
Fascism for liberals.
That's what it was.
Yeah, good old Paul Verhoeven.
Yep.
Is he a lucky director? Is he a good director?
Yes.
Oh, come on, pick a side.
Let's go lucky.
Okay.
Because
like Robocop
kind of catches lightning in a bottle,
right? And I think definitely right guy, right time.
Yeah.
Because Robocop is great, Total Recall is great.
Mm-hmm.
But those movies as remakes were not great.
No, we're train wrecks.
And so that to me shows that, granted, it's a remake, I get it, but like those two films specifically came out at a time where they were impactful, and the viewership was there, because again, when they remake them, people are still like, well, I'd rather just watch the original because it's so much better.
Yeah.
But this is also the same guy that made Showgirls.
Yeah. Well, and Starship Troopers as well.
That's true. Yeah,
I will say, the running theme through all of his movies is, like social commentary on greed and corporate dollars, and
right,
fascism,
and with just enough future tech,
exploitation.
Yeah, with just enough future tech to make it seem grounded. It's not like a far off distant future. It's more like, in a couple years, but with a fresh coat of paint kind of thing.
Especially this movie.
Yeah, because you watch RoboCop, and this is grounded in, like there's most of this movie looks modern day for the time.
Yeah.
With just injections of tech. Yeah.
I mean, like, the local police station, the local precinct, it's a police station that just has a fancy room to house him.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like that aesthetic. I like that approach to films where they don't just completely like tear up the modern day playbook. They just say, let's just layer over a little bit, but still leave it in an environment that is known and comfortable.
Like Blade Runner is another one that does.
Blade Runner is another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Where, yes, there's future tech, there's flying cars and things, but it still feels gritty.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's still like hole in the wall bars, and it's not everything is, and hole in the wall bars that are, these are still police officers driving police cars. These aren't like Total Recall went a little bit further, where you've got like mechanical taxi drivers and etc. But yeah, RoboCop is just great. So welcome everybody to another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks podcast, where we take a monthly theme. This mini month, 60% month is what we're looking at. We got a 5-weeker. We've already spent the good dollars on the first 2 weeks of Patreon subscriber, wrapping that one up, and so we're spending the last 3 weeks cramming in as many cop films as we can. And so last week was Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and this week was your pick, RoboCop with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Exactly, with Van Damme as he played Nancy
Lewis.
Allen. He played Lewis. I was going to say he played Lewis. But no, this is definitely 80s was great at taking something that should not be in front of children and making it into a toy line,
yes, an action
a cartoon
figure.
series. Like,
I mean, Aliens was another one. I remember as a kid seeing, seeing commercials for, like, Joyd Hicks and the Space Marines
exactly
take on the, the aliens.
Well, Toxic Avenger had a cartoon, the Toxic Crusaders.
Toxic Crusaders.
Yeah. That absolutely should, but I guess with one thing is it was all about merchandise. It was all about profits. It was all about consumerism.
Yep.
None of it was geared towards, hey kids, go watch Robocop.
Yeah. Well, and that's the irony about Robocop is
Yes.
it really takes shots at consumerism and capitalism, and then goes out. Yeah. And then the toy line comes out. Kids, buy your own Ed 209.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's video games and it's like it just, that decade was in hindsight just ridiculous,
just bonkers. Yeah,
just ridiculous. Of, if we can make an IP out of it, we're going to shove it in front of everybody we possibly can.
Spaceballs the flamethrower.
Exactly. Oh,
hey, well, who's our Patreon?
I was just getting there. Yeah, before we get rolling into this, we definitely want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers: Don S, Aaron A, Mandy K, Melissa L, Colleen K, and Lyle M. Thank you for your patronage. If you would like to hear your name shouted from the rooftops, because I'm on my roof right now. Are you? Know. Yeah, yeah. I've got most people have like pigeon cages on their roof. Yeah, I've got bookshelves and Wi-Fi.
I have a full studio.
Exactly. My wife doesn't like me recording in the house, so
you take that outside.
I get the floors dirty.
Also, shout out to the Chicago Indie Critics. I actually happen to be wearing the shirt today. A rep of the shirt.
Me too. Yep. It's the old Chicago Indie Critics logo. Peter Griffin punching a chicken. It's the old logo.
It's the old one before this one updated.
So I got one of the OG shirts. So
a lot of mixed messages with the OG marketing. I think the branding is on point now.
Yeah, I think we finally found a happy
nailed
place.
it. Yeah, we nailed it.
Yeah. So RoboCop's your film. So I'm going to break down the cast of this movie, and honestly, a better cast in this movie probably anticipated having. Like,
they, again, it's kind of going back to the luck versus skill.
Yes.
And again, I think there's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Which is how this movie came together. But some amazing character actors ended up in this movie.
Oh, for sure. And this cast, I'm going to give full, credence to. When a movie can have a great, even an underrated, because I don't think anybody sits back and they realistically know, like, okay, let me kind of backtrack here. If I say Hollywood director, people can rattle Hollywood directors off. If we say, film composers, we could rattle some off or whatever.
Like Henry Winkler and Alan Silvestri.
Exactly. But there's a lot of like unsung heroes of the production process, and casting director is one of them. Location scouts are another. And so, a lot of credit is given understandably to the directors, and but when you find a casting agent, casting director that can assemble the parts to put in front of the director to work with, and I just think it's one of the most unsung heroes of a film production process. And the casting director for this film, who of course I don't know who it is,
great job, so and so. Way to go, sport.
Hold on. 6 to 8 months. Even the casting doesn't necessarily start with who the casting director was. It doesn't matter. But the cast of this film really does fill out what this movie turns out to be. Yeah. Because without this cast, it's another cookie cutter action film. Yeah. Robot cop does its robot cop things.
By the numbers, sci-fi action. Yeah.
But there are just understated roles in this film, and I think everybody involved like you said, character actor or not.
And
just
then there was overstated, and there was also just stated.
Yeah, right. I am him. So we have Peter Weller as RoboCop.
Mm-hmm.
He starts as Alex Murphy, but he's RoboCop.
Murphy.
And we'll get into who he is, but of course he's RoboCop, and he has some tragic stuff happen to him to become RoboCop. It wasn't a voluntary thing.
That's an understatement.
Anybody want to be the Robo guinea pig? I will. No. His partner, Ann Lewis, played by Nancy Allen.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a movie where we meet partners a week in to their partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Every movie, every movie that features a partner, it's always the first day.
Yeah.
Always the RoboCop.
Yeah.
Time Cop.
Well, yeah, even Time Cop last week. Fielding and Walker. Yeah.
Yeah. Training Day.
Yeah. Cop and a half.
Cop and a half. Even your Rush Hour movies.
Yeah.
Your Lethal Weapon. Like if it's like that's the baseline. It's like, hey, I have an idea where we've got these two veteran police partners. Like, nope, get that garbage out of here. It has to be day one.
Why am I blanking on the short that we did? Laser Unicorns was the production company.
Kung Fury.
Kung Fury, yes. Also,
yeah,
Kung Fury and Triceracop.
Yeah,
I work alone.
Right, and it's like it's always the first day, and almost as if like if tragedy is going to strike police officers, it's going to be on the day one.
Yep.
Because of communication issues. No, it's because crime sucks.
Yeah.
This isn't because Murphy and Lewis weren't on the same page. It's because crime sucks.
No, it's because there's bad guys.
Yeah, and so Nancy Allen plays Ann Lewis. Then we get we get really the head of the police, Daniel
O'Herlihy.
O'Herlihy.
Yeah.
Oh no, he actually played the doorman in Time Cop last week. the Irishman who's always like, oh, it's another day,
another day, another body.
Ronnie Cox is in here as another OCP guy, but also spoiler alert, the bad guy.
Yes. Love Ronnie Cox.
Kurtwood Smith is great in this movie as Clarence Boddicker.
He chews some scenery in the best of ways in this.
I was going to say, yes, he does, but man, is he magnetic.
Yes, he is.
And I love that by no means, if you look at this man, should you think he is the head of a criminal organization. Because you bring up that 70s show, he's red. You got Miguel Ferrer as he's kind of the architect of the RoboCop program.
Yeah. Also works for OCP.
And so really you have the police and you have like Clarence Boddicker's gang. And then you've got the bridge between the two. And that's the cast of this movie. Yeah. You got Ray Wise in here.
Oh, he's so good at this.
Yes. That whole Boddicker's whole crime group is, and I bring that up later, but is just excellent.
Yeah.
Like they're not like, you take Time Cop from last week where our henchmen were just like
just stock footage henchmen.
Well, our henchmen were like the Iron Mike Sharp,
Brooklyn Brawler.
Exactly. Even Brooklyn Brawler might be a little elevated. Like these were just throwaway jobbers, in like late 80s, early 90s wrestling. These are the guys that were like last week's henchmen were the guys that were already in the ring at a house show. They don't have any entrance music. They're just already there. Whereas this week it's like, like that whole gang is fleshed out and like the gravity to those guys.
Yeah, have their own personalities, and not that you need a ton about their backstory, but you just get little pieces of their personality, and it makes them more unique than
very,
just
very much so.
token henchman number 3.
Exactly. They all had names, and they all, like you said, they all were just distinct enough that you, I won't say you obviously didn't care about them, but you were invested in who they were.
Yeah.
And because they weren't nameless and they weren't a 1,000 of them, like, they're easy to keep track of.
Yeah.
So, but that's pretty much the cast of this movie, is the cops, the bad guys, and the bridge between.
Yeah.
What do you got for a plot? I mean, it's really not a whole lot going on. It's very surface level.
Yeah, I had more notes for this movie than anything we've done in several months.
It doesn't surprise me.
Also, to be mentioned that Rob Bottin, who really cut his teeth on The Thing, made the Robocop suit.
Yeah, fought with Verhoeven quite a bit over it, as Verhoeven,
and Peter Weller.
Yeah, because I know Verhoeven was like, we want to show this thing in all its glory, and Bottin was more like, shadows are our friend. Worked out though. And honestly, it holds up. Like, this is, 1987. And so this was back where if you watch this at home, it was on VHS. It holds up in high def.
It does. Yeah. Yeah, they did a great job with this.
Yeah, they did.
So this movie is set in the near future Detroit, which is kind of one of the reasons why I threw Beverly Hills Cop in there, because Beverly Hills Cop is also partially set. I don't
blame Axel Foley for wanting to get out of town. If this is what crime in Detroit.
I like to think Beverly Hills Cop and RoboCop are set in the same universe.
Yes. There was going to be a crossover sequel of Beverly Hills RoboCop, but it just didn't work out. But no, I would like to see like Axel Foley
starring Judge Reinhold as RoboCop.
Axel Foley was in OCP.
Yeah, he was.
But I gotta get out of town.
Starring what am I Balky? Starring Balky as Ed 209.
I would watch that movie.
Yes, I would too, if it was his voice for Ed 209.
not like a tiger growling and
no,
lion roaring. I would watch
squealing. No, it's Balky. Balky Bartakibus.
Oh.
So that's the setting we're in. We open on a newscast in Detroit. There's a threat of nuclear war in South Africa. There's a commercial from the Heart Center featuring artificial hearts made by Yamaha and Jensen with extended warranties.
Exactly.
So again, that's the bit here, is that we intercut this pretty hardcore, gritty sci-fi action with these takes on consumerism and capitalism.
And I really like that Verhoeven chose to display those quote unquote ads to us. Yeah. It wasn't something that was on TV in a scene where you might not be paying attention to it. It was, get out of the way. We're showing you the commercials.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed that.
And I think,
you couldn't miss it.
And it also lets you know that this movie doesn't buy into the fact that there should be RoboCops.
Yeah.
Because it, like, in its own, in their own weird way, these little commercial spots, these little ads are kind of a wink at the audience that, like, kind of going back where we started with that this movie is fascism for liberals, where you can enjoy the nutty sci-fi action of it, while also knowing that they're not really promoting this. Like, this isn't a good thing,
right? That
we have RoboCop running the streets, that we have corporate overlords funding the local police. These are all bad things, and the movie is aware of that.
Yes. For those, like you said, for liberals that get that message, there are those that watch this and be like, this would be great.
Yeah.
Because
why don't we have RoboCops?
Yeah, because if we had RoboCops, then I don't have to worry about my husband getting shot at work.
If only we had more Ed 209s on the streets.
Yeah, that was bad. 0 for 2 with Ed 209. He had two chances in this movie, and he blew them both. 3 really, and he blew them both.
So the news says there's several police officers that are dead. The union is blaming their private benefactor OCP, the Omni Consumer Products. Great name. I love the logo for it too.
It's a cool logo.
Yeah, like the in-universe, in-canon branding is just great. And so you start off with this tension, between the local police and again their corporate funding, and the OCP president Dick Jones, he's blaming the cops. If you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen.
Right.
That's a great message to send to your public servants. If you're not tough enough to be a cop, then get out.
Yeah, right, because we're not changing.
Yep. The news says that crime boss Clarence Boddicker is behind it, as well as at least 31 of the police deaths. So again, I know last week with Type Cop, we talked about there was a literal agent exposition that told us everything.
Yes.
So I like this opening on the news. And granted, they are expositioning things, but they're doing it in a fun, creative way.
Oh, yeah. We don't just have character X walk on screen with an update.
And it's giving you these like universe details and a little bit about a couple of the characters.
Right.
But it's not... It's not just dumping all of this info.
And it is. It's creative. This, Time Cop would have done this same scene in a boardroom.
Yeah. with the light pouring through partially open blinds.
Yeah. I mean, they would have, and I think a lot of movies would have expositioned this way in a boardroom atmosphere where you've got, who is like the head of OCP stressing out, the old man.
The old man. Man, do you get a load of those cops all stressed out about dying and their unions mad at us?
It's just, what are we going to do? Just having this pounding the fist on the table. But no, I really like the approach of let's put it in a news broadcast.
Yeah. So we cut to the local police station, which, as we said, is just your typical bustling urban police station. That doesn't look futuristic at all. It looks like you could walk into it today, honestly.
It's like Precinct 13 looking.
Yeah, let alone in 1987.
Right.
And so Murphy walks in. He's been transferred. He's now in a much rougher part of town than he used to be in. Another officer has just died in the locker room. They're removing the nameplate and everything. And this is too routine. Mm-hmm. Like that's the reaction from the other cops there, is that this is happening way too often. We're getting too used to this.
Yeah.
Officer Lewis, played by Nancy Allen, punches out a rowdy perp in the station. So that's kind of our intro to her. And she's Murphy's new partner.
Yeah.
We cut back to the OCP headquarters. We meet Chairman, the old man, as you said, played by Daniel O'Herlihy, President Dick Jones, Ronnie Cox, Junior Executive Bob Morton, and there's Donald Johnson, another executive who kind of pops up here and there with some great just facial reaction shots.
Yes, I think he's there mainly for that. Just to be, like to be token black guy in the boardroom. He's very happy. I'm happy to be here, guys.
Morton is talking smack. He doesn't believe that the old man and Dick Jones's new Ed 209 project is going to work. He's got an idea, but he needs time with the old man to sell it.
Right.
So the old man introduces also a new civic project. So big civic engineering, civic development, but crime is getting in the way. So Dick presents to the board and says, OCP, we've made money off of things like space and hospitals and prisons.
Yeah.
So it's things ring true today as well.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And so Dick Jones introduces the future of law enforcement, Ed 209, a huge robot that just stop motions its way into the room. How would you describe the look of Ed 2? If you had to describe how Ed 209 looks to someone, how would you describe it?
Like a cockpit on AT-AT legs. Like it just has this, with like Gatling guns on the side. It's just it's very large. It's very menacing looking. And it's just this giant staring down at you.
Yeah.
Just cop machine.
Yeah. It also it kind of reminds me a little bit of like, in the MCU, like James Rhodes' War Machine. With the Gatling guns and the extra artillery on it and everything. How War Machine was basically, like Iron Man, but just with all these extra accessories.
Right.
Like over the top, intentionally.
Yeah.
Over the top.
Yeah.
And so this is Ed 209. He's the new intro into urban law enforcement, but also has potential military applications. So they basically not only do they want to sell this to to communities through civic outreach, but they also want to potentially sell this to the military.
Yes, yeah. Dick Jones was originally going to be played by Ted DiBiase in this movie. Because he knows all about money.
Ed 209 was wearing the $1 million belt.
And 209 is dressed in a white sequin sleeveless tuxedo with a pink collar.
As he walked in the room, that the DiBiase's theme song played. Money, money,
exactly.
money, money. And so to demonstrate Ed 209's capabilities, they get one of the junior executives at the table. They hand this junior executive a handgun, and they tell him to threaten Ed 209.
Meanwhile, over on like the side of the room is this like control pedestal with all of these like white jacket scientists standing by. Like,
because to run that board you need a white lab coat
and 6 people.
Yeah.
Every Ed 209 comes with its own staff of controllers.
And so this junior executive threatens this giant robot with the gun, and Ed, in this menacing deep voice just comes back, put down the gun. You have 20 seconds to comply.
Right.
And so Dick Jones look at us. He's like, well, you better do what he says.
Yeah.
And so the junior executive sets the gun down, but Ed 209 keeps counting. You have 15 seconds to comply.
And people start to panic.
Yes, they do. And so this junior executive starts just kind of scurrying around left or right, and
he runs towards the group at the table, and they just shove him back out in the middle of the room.
Yes, they do.
Get away from us! He's targeting you.
And so it hits 0, and I think at like the count of 5, he's like, "I am authorized to use lethal force."
Right.
And so the thing with this heavy caliber artillery, just starts shooting at the guy.
It's like Jesse Ventura standing there,
basically. and like, even he falls dead onto this big miniature of this big civic project, and Ed just keeps shooting him, just riddling his corpse with heavy artillery, and of course
in a boardroom full of people, like all these junior executives and above are just watching this. Go to heck.
Just happened. And so Dick Jones tells the old man afterwards, it was a glitch and a temporary setback.
Right. He was a junior executive.
So that's Bob Morton's opening.
Yes.
So he comes in and says, this project, we're years away. However, I got something we can roll out now, the Robocop project.
Right.
It's cheaper, it's faster, it's more effective.
All we need is dead police officers.
Yes, and we got plenty of those.
They're just lying around.
Yeah, thanks, Clarence Boddicker. And so, old man greenlights it.
Yeah.
Cut back to Murphy. He and Lewis are out, I think, getting a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
He's spinning his gun like an old West gunslinger,
like TJ Laser.
Yep, from his son's favorite show, TJ Laser.
Could you do that, Dad?
So they get in all units over the radio. There's been a big robbery, big heist. So we cut the Boddicker and his gang in a van, making away with bags full of money. And Boddicker is mad because one of the guys basically he set off like an explosive too close to the loot, and it singed
burnt the money.
Burned it. And so Boddicker is just beside himself. He's just screaming at his drivers, and at the guy who made the mistake. And so Murphy and Lewis pull up behind the car, and they start a firefight right there in the expressway. Mm-hmm. Murphy gets a couple of rounds into the leg of the bad guy who made the big mistake, and Clarence Boddicker, what an awesome character in this.
And he really is.
Yeah, and it just the performance by Kurtwood Smith. It's so the guy who got shot, who made the mistake, his name is Bobby, and so Boddicker just comes up and says, "Can you fly, Bobby?" and so orders his guys to take this guy and just throw him out of the van onto the hood of Lewis and Murphy's car. Oh, it's so great. They end up Lewis and Murphy pursue the van to this old steel mill, which is the hideout for Boddicker and his men. Eventually they split up because that's the wise thing to do, right? It's like a
It's their
horror
first
movie.
day. It's their first day as partners.
That's true. It's their first day.
They can't stand each other yet, so that's what they have to do. Split up.
So Lewis confronts Joe, who is in the middle of peeing, but of course she's knocked off of the catwalk she confronts him on when her eyes look down.
Exactly. Yeah. Turns around and, can I put this away? And you just, even if it's your first time watching it, they hold the tension long enough that it's like, she's going to look.
Yeah.
And that's what he's counting on.
And her eyes dart down just for a moment.
Yeah.
And that's when he pushes her off the rail. We cut to Murphy getting the drop on two bad guys, one of which is Emil. He shoots kills the bad guy who goes for the gun, and tells Emil, dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
Murphy, unfortunately, is then surrounded by Leon, Joe, Steve, Boddicker, as well as Emil. Boddicker, and he's just toying with Murphy. Like he's making like sound effects as he's holding his shotgun on him. And eventually just blows Murphy's hand off.
Yeah, because it's
yeah. Patreon subscriber Melissa L refuses to watch this movie. She acknowledges it's a good movie, but refuses to watch it with me because of this scene, because of just how graphically violent it is.
It's very violent.
Yeah.
Very violent scene.
Yeah, and we watched the director's cut.
Okay.
I believe that's what you watched as well.
Yeah.
Because the theatrical cut didn't include all of this.
No, it did not.
Yeah, and so shoots his hand off. Murphy, of course, is now in shock, literally and figuratively, stumbles to his feet, and all five of them just open fire on him. Just open fire, blow his arm off. He's shot several more times until Boddicker just puts a round in Murphy's head. Lewis arrives too late.
Yeah.
So
just drops her shoulders like, darn it. Tomorrow, another new partner.
So, yeah, we cut to Murphy arriving to a hospital via helicopter. He's somehow still alive after all of that. There's a POV shot from Murphy as doctors were working on him, and he flashes back to his family and the shooting until the doctors make the call on his death.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was reading the trivia. I don't know if you saw this as well. That was a real medical crash team that was working on him.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I don't think I scrolled down that far.
Yeah, they hired a real medical crash team to do that scene, just for authenticity.
It's probably cheaper than hiring actors to do it too, honestly.
Yeah. You're not wrong. So again, we cut to black for a few seconds. Mm-hmm. And then we get another POV shot from Murphy as Robocop. You don't know it initially. No. You don't know he's Robocop, but it's a POV from him. And you see he has like a computer interface now, or like a heads up display, kind of like Iron Man.
Yep.
In some ways, or the Terminator. So Bob Morton is there, and he points in a Robocop's face. You're gonna be one bad MFer.
He's very, very excited.
Yes, he is. And so we see little kind of vignettes, 5-10 seconds of them working on him, and then it blanks.
And you've got this again, just the attention to the detail of when we are looking at things through RoboCop's POV. Mm-hmm. It's got this like old cathode ray tube TV effect on it.
Yeah,
to where it's not crystal clear, like it's just wavy enough, and it's got like interlaced and. Yeah, it's just cool because it's not how the movie was shot, but that's how this was shot.
Yeah,
so that you could tell when you're in RoboCop's POV because it is a little bit less resolution.
Mm-hmm. They're celebrating a New Year's party. Like one of the lead scientists kisses him as he's just sitting there. We then cut to RoboCop arriving at the same local police station, that he was at.
I love this reveal. Because go ahead. I know
he walks in and you hear the footsteps. And and this is a bustling police station. There's criminals and there's cops, and the sergeant is running the desk, and everybody stops when they hear the footsteps.
Like you see him walking through like frosted glass.
Yeah.
So you don't really get a feel. And like the first time we see him is when he's moving, but you see him on a TV display.
Yeah.
Like we don't see him. We see what the camera's seeing as he's passed. It's just so well done. Little teases of what we're about to see without us actually seeing it.
Yeah. So, we're introduced to to seeing RoboCop, third person, as the police officers are. So you get it captures like the intrigue and the curiosity and the excitement of everybody else who's there. And as viewers, it feeds those things at us too. So really clever way to introduce
it. Really well done.
Like there's one shot in particular I love. Like after they take him back through a room, you see a half a dozen officers just running through the station.
Yeah,
and the camera is running with them just to capture that excitement.
Yeah, it was very, very well done.
Yeah. So we see RoboCop being prepped. Morton asks him to repeat his prime directives. 1, serve the public trust. 2, protect the innocent. 3, uphold the law. On RoboCop's heads-up display, though, we do see that there is a 4th directive listed as classified.
Right.
So, wonder if that's going to come up later.
Doubt it.
Yeah. We cut to their indoor gun range. We see Walsh and Lewis and the other cops marveling at RoboCop and his gigantic gun that he keeps in a leg holster.
His hand cannon.
Yeah, basically. And Lewis notices him twirl his gun just like Murphy did.
Right.
And the other officers are all starting to speculate about RoboCop replacing them because again, we're in the middle of this huge labor dispute.
Yes.
I could have worked that into my movie Marriage as well.
You could have, yeah.
All tied together with a labor dispute.
Yeah. Well, and with the shooting scene, I wonder, because RoboCop is firing off at massive clips, and we know he has a targeting system. And it's one of those, shooting galleries where like your target starts way away and it starts moving in closer to you. Mm-hmm. But we see him fire off round after round after round after round after round. But yeah, then when it cuts to the actual target, it's been moving closer to him, and we see him shoot, and it like shoots the chest, shoots the arms, like blasts it off. What was he hitting before that? Because
he was hitting everyone else's targets.
Apparently, because he's firing off like what seems to sound like dozens of rounds.
Yes.
And we don't actually see him hit anything until we see the target. So, and that's one of those where once the target comes all the way in, you replace the target, you run it all the way back and start shooting again. It's not like there's some guy like on like a driving range that's driving around just changing targets mid shot. Like, yeah, I always wondered. I was watching it this time, and I'm like, "What's he actually hitting?" Because we don't see him. He hadn't hit the target until we see him hit the target.
Yeah, it's a good point. So we cut to him in a cop car. RoboCop squeals his tires, and he bottoms out the car just like Murphy did earlier in the movie. Mm-hmm. There's kind of a running gag of like every time the cop car, like is leaving the station, it always bottoms out on the ramp.
It's a very, very ridiculous like sloped ramp to get out of the
like a 45-degree ramp to get out of there.
Yeah, it's a little high.
Yeah. So we cut to a robber holding up a mini mart. RoboCop intervenes. So the first time we really see RoboCop in action, and the robber starts yelling "F me, F me" as he's shooting at RoboCop, and of course has no effect. RoboCop he does the classic, grabs the gun and just bends it, which means that robber had to have a pretty strong grip on that gun.
Shouldn't have been shooting with rubber guns. And
RoboCop eventually clotheslines him halfway across the store, face first through a glass freezer.
I enjoy, like, I always have enjoyed this scene because this scene is, we'd mentioned MCU in a way.
Yeah. Oh, the comic book rack?
Yeah. Well, not so much that, but it's like this robber comes in and he wants the money. And of course they don't want to give him the money. And there's a crime in place, and RoboCop shows up and obviously does more damage to the store than what the money would have been stolen was amounted to.
Uh-huh.
And so granted, thank you RoboCop for saving us from this criminal. However, insurance probably would have covered it. But now we've lost all of our money anyway and having to repair our store because you've destroyed it.
Yeah. Thanks, RoboCop.
Have a good day.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of civic destruction that happens in a lot of by hero characters
in the name of law. Like,
yes. Yeah, again, MCU. As the robber had walked in, there's a big comic book rack there, and he grabs a copy of Iron Man. There's other comic books that kind of tie into that. Have like cyborgs or robots,
right.
like Rom Space Knight.
Yeah,
there's a display of that there, so just kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, fun way to include some stuff. We then cut outside to there's two punks assaulting a blonde woman.
I love 80s movie punks.
I know you do. That's one of your things. There's a really cool shot as Robocop kind of walks up to them off camera, and his shadow literally looms large, like against a brick wall behind the two robbers.
Yeah, because he steps in front of his headlights, which are then project his shadow, and it's really cool.
So one of the punks, grabs the woman and holds her hostage, puts the gun to her head, and has his body behind hers. And Robocop uses his advanced targeting system to shoot through her legs. Didn't hit her, just shot between her legs to hit the perp directly in the groin.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ow.
Yep.
Yep. And of course, Robocop comes up to the woman afterwards, and she goes to thank him, but then she's kind of off. She can't make sense of what she sees.
What is going on here?
Yeah. And so he just tells her, "Madam, you have suffered an emotional shock. I will notify a rape crisis center." Real empathetic.
Yeah. Well, it's in his programming.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. But yeah, it's like there's no consoling at all. It's just
yes.
This is where you need to go now.
Yes.
Have a nice day.
Outside City Hall, again, we get another little vignette here. A councilman has taken others hostage. Robocop literally drives through the yellow caution tape to go inside. Uses a thermograph to see the body heat, like the heat map of everyone in the next room. Punches through a wall to grab the perp.
Yeah, I love the negotiation back and forth between this councilman and the police of like, I want a fast car. I want to, it's just so hyper specific on what he wants.
Leather seats.
It cracked me up because it's consumerism.
And I think at one point, I wasn't going to include this, but I think one of the hostage negotiator comes back and says, "We'll even put a Blaupunkt in it for you."
Yeah.
Like all the consumer there's shout outs to Yamaha, Jensen, and Blaupunkt all in this movie. And so eventually, Robocop punches this congressman, this terrorist, basically out of 2-story window.
Yes.
Yeah. Cut to the news showing the councilman flying out of the window. The reporter's talking about Robocop. Morton is bragging on TV about Robocop, saying they'll end crime in old Detroit in 40 days, and that the Delta City, the big civic project that was mentioned earlier, has been approved and is moving forward. So we see Morton bragging about now being a vice president. He's in the bathroom at OCP talking smack about Dick Jones. Of course, it's the bit where Jones is in the bathroom stall listening. So they have a moment. Jones tells Morton, "You better pray Robocop doesn't screw up." Cut to Robocop in stasis. So he's at his charging station or whatever. And he starts twitching. And his neural monitor, which is monitoring his brain waves, starts going off. And we see that he's actually flashing back to the shooting. Really cool moments because his facial reactions kind of mirror, his emotional state, because he's still part human. And, they align with his memory. So Robocop just gets up and just leaves, and, without having an assignment or, kind of against their protocol.
Right.
And he walks past Lewis, who confronts him and asks I know you're Murphy, but he just walks past her and continues onto his patrol. The science tech said he had some kind of somatic dream, but Morton refuses to take him offline. He's staying in the field because Morton's reputation.
His whole reputation is based on this.
Yeah. So after leaving the station, Robocop comes across Emil holding up a gas station attendant, again, one of Boddicker's bad guys.
Like politely holding up a gas station attendant.
He's
chatting with the attendant. Like,
he is.
What you studying in there, college boy? Like playing geometry, and it's just, I want the money, and I'm going to fill up with gas.
It was a very, very charming little moment.
It really was. I mean, it just to show that he's always a criminal, but he's not. But these guys aren't necessarily always violent. They're violent when they need to be, but he's like, give me your money, and I'm going to fill up with gas and go. Like,
because I'm entitled to this,
right? Because I'm a criminal, and that's what I do. I take, and but it really was.
It's so normal to him.
Well, and it's one of those scenes, like I was talking earlier, that it because the criminal piece, Boddicker's gang, really is small enough. It gives us an opportunity to get to know these guys a little bit. And so not the background. I could care less if there's family or education, but just a matter of
just the personality.
Yes. We give these guys a little bit of personality, for a reason, not just exposition wise, but, so that we see that, Boddicker's gang is not always together. Yeah. That they get together when they need to be, but they don't hang out all the time.
So Robocop walks up. He sees the crime in progress, and we get the classic drop it,
right?
With such a cool pose that Peter Weller does. I don't know if that was planned or if that was like, if that was staged that way, but it just like if you freeze frame on that.
And let's give props to Weller, because you see Robocop. You don't see a guy playing Robocop. Like, he really nailed this performance, and whatever stuntman was also in it, but they collectively, he pulled it off. I mean, he did a great job.
And so Robocop tells Emil, dead or alive, you're coming with me. And Emil pauses. He has kind of a puzzled look on his face, and then he recognizes that Murphy is Robocop, the guy they killed. And he just says, I know you. You're dead. We killed you.
Right.
And of course, Robocop is recording this because it records everything.
Yeah.
And Emil blows up the gas station as Robocop.
Well, it ended. Yeah, he does. He shoots at Robocop and then nicks one of the gas lines.
Yeah. So there's gas everywhere.
Yeah. His plan wasn't to destroy the gas station,
correct,
but with Robocop there, I've got to get out of this.
And so he flicks the cigarette into the gas, blows it up. Robocop, of course, just walks right through it, shoots the motorcycle out, and just screams, "Who are you?" at Emil, because again, this has triggered Murphy.
Yeah, this is Murphy yelling at him.
Yes. So back at the station, Robocop enters a restricted data records area and unsheathes basically like a spike from his hand, which he uses to access
very R2-D2-ish.
Yeah, a data port. Only the spike, because like one of the texts there says like, you can't come in here, and then it does the spike, and it basically looks like a middle finger.
Flips him off.
Yeah. It's kind of like in the first X-Men movie where Wolverine does that to Cyclops. Like all three of his claws are out, and he retracts the two outside ones.
Right. Yeah. To get the message across.
And so he uses the image of Emil that he had recorded earlier to go through these data files and eventually identify Emil as well as his associates, Boddicker and all the others.
Yeah.
And then he brings up his own file, Murphy's file, with the word deceased across it. So Robocop then goes to Murphy's address, and we see him flash back to the memories of the home. The home is up for sale, so there's nobody there. But he's going through Murphy's past, trying to puzzle piece together who he was and who he is. So we then cut to Robocop in arrest mode at a nightclub looking for Leon Nash.
Yeah.
Robocop confronts. I love Nash too, because he's kind of like the pretty boy of the group.
Yeah, very much so.
He's the guy you would expect to see out at the club and with women and like doing lines of coke and things like that. And so Robocop confronts Nash and demands, "Where's Boddicker?" I love this part so much. Nash pulls a gun out, and Robocop just knocks it out of his hand, and it flies into another club goer, catches it while he's dancing.
He just keeps dancing.
It and just keeps dancing with the gun in hand. I love that so much.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. It might be one of the few scenes in this movie that just a little too comedic. But it's so much fun.
It still works. I get your point completely, but it still works.
But no, I do love it. I look forward to it every time that gun goes flying across the club.
Because it doesn't linger on it either. He catches it, he dances for a beat, and then it just cuts back to Nash and Robocop. Nash goes to kick Robocop in the groin, and of course he's metal.
Yes.
So you just hear a bong sound as Nash is in pain. We then cut to Morton. Bob Morton back at Morton's, snazzy 80s home with, those glass cubes everywhere in the walls and everything. Yeah, everything's made of glass.
From Commando, where he throws. What was?
I remember the scene. Yeah. Bill Duke.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Where he's fighting him at the hotel, the motel,
and they crash through the door.
As these two people are. Like making sweet love.
Yes. 80s boobs. I think we were.
Leon Phelps was next door.
Leon Phelps. Ooh,
a lady.
Ooh, a lady.
I am Julie's piano.
So Morton's there. He's got two prostitutes. They're doing a lot of cocaine. A lot of cocaine.
Yes.
And Boddicker walks in, shoots Morton twice in each leg.
Yeah.
Throws in a video from Dick Jones, who
politely tells the ladies to leave.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one way to put it.
But he did let them leave.
He did let them go. Yep. Yeah. That's true. So shoots Morton twice in each leg, immobilizing him, plays a video from Dick Jones, who basically says, I hired Boddicker.
Yeah.
You went too far. Boddicker, in the best grenade pin pulling sequence ever put to film.
Yes. Well, extremely impossible with the amount of pressure a grenade pin has on it. But anyway.
Yeah. Pulls a grenade pin, throws it on a table, and of course Morton can't use his leg, so he can't reach the grenade. Boddicker leaves. House blows up, killing Morton.
Yes.
We cut to a cocaine manufacturing plant. I'm looking at the time. We're running long on this one, but it's Robocop. Yeah. So Boddicker is trying to make a deal with the very skeptical owner who's worried about Boddicker's reputation as a cop killer. Ooh, guns. As both sides draw guns at each other.
He's so great.
He is. Oh, what a performance. And of course, Robocop busts in. Because he's after Boddicker, but this is also a cocaine plant too, so it's kind of a twofer for RoboCop here. So we get a quick POV of him using his targeting system to target all the goons before the firefight happens. Come quietly, or there will be trouble. I love some of the lines in this movie
because they're so. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They're so boring, but yet
but it works in the character and in the moment.
Because this is a machine.
Yeah, and just Weller's delivery.
Also. For sure.
So there's big firefight. RoboCop takes out a dozen guys, including one of Boddicker's gang. The lead manufacturer gets shot.
Yeah.
So RoboCop is giving Boddicker his rights as he's throwing him through glass doors and windows.
Right.
So glorifying some cop violence.
Oh, for sure.
So while being recorded, because again, RoboCop records everything, Boddicker confesses that he's working for Dick Jones at OCP. So this is now in the record.
Yes.
So RoboCop arrests Boddicker, who spits. It cuts to the police station. Great little moment of
I love
Boddicker just spitting blood all over the paperwork.
Yeah.
Just give me my phone call.
He's so bored.
Yeah.
He really is. He's just so bored by all of this.
Yes. Yeah. God, Kurtwood Smith is so good at this.
Yes, he is.
So RoboCop then goes to OCP headquarters to arrest Dick Jones because he's got the confession.
Yep. And he's a cop. He's doing his cop, doing protocol.
So Jones is there waiting for him. He presents his wrist to RoboCop. Here I am. Take me in. You got me. So as RoboCop goes to arrest him, we get another POV shot flashing product violation across RoboCop's HUD, saying Directive 4 has been enabled. Jones and mocks him. What's wrong? You can't arrest me? Turns out that this Directive 4 prevents RoboCop from arresting any senior OCP officers and results in shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
So RoboCop is struggling to stay active as Jones tells RoboCop that he had Morton killed. Again, RoboCop's still recording everything.
Recording all this, yeah.
So as that's happening, Jones lets Ed 209 in, who shoots and knocks RoboCop through glass doors. Ed 209 goes for like a point blank kill shot, raises, because it's these huge arm cannons, puts it right up to RoboCop's head, and fortunately RoboCop pushes it away at the last moment into Ed 209's other arm, blowing it off. RoboCop then lures Ed 209 into a stairwell because Ed 209, I love the shot of Ed 209 gingerly trying to go down the stairs,
looking for floor and can't find it.
Yeah, and eventually Ed 209 goes to pursue RoboCop down the stairs, but just falls. And as it falls into like a staircase landing, it lands on its back. Its legs are just kicking everywhere. And it's the sound effect that they laid over it was a pig squealing.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
And simple, because none of this is real.
Yeah.
And so you could do what you want with it.
You may as well go over the top with it.
And so, pig squealing just... you instantly recognize what it is, but it's okay.
Yeah. And so still in the same building, in the OCP building, RoboCop ends up in the parking garage and is surrounded by cops because now they've been ordered to take out RoboCop, for breaking into OCP. And so Lewis and several others refuse to engage because of, the whole labor union and going after another cop.
And he's like, he's a cop.
But most of the others still engage. RoboCop ends up rolling down several levels of the parking garage to get away, and Lewis pulls up and gets him out of there in her squad car.
Props to Lewis's strength as RoboCop used her as a crutch to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen RoboCop bend a gun in half, throw people all over, and yet when he puts his hands on Lewis's shoulder and stands up, she doesn't crumple under that. Like she stands tall and she helps him up.
She was 6 inches shorter when she was done.
Yeah, exactly.
But compressed her spine.
But she's a good partner.
Yeah, she is. We then cut to Oz to a dinosaur attacking people.
Oh, I love this.
What's happening here? Yeah. So we see a dinosaur terrorizing a city. There's people pointing and running away. Kind of very Godzilla-esque.
A stop motion dinosaur.
Correct. Yeah. Stop motion dinosaur. And then the dinosaur's eyes bug out with a great boing sound.
I love it.
As it walks up to a car dealership.
Yeah.
And sees the deal on the new 6000 SUX model.
Right.
An American tradition, it says on the screen, 8.2 miles per gallon. Yep. And again, the funny thing is, this is in Detroit, the Motor City.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is where you're going to see that.
It's just so many layers. It's just great. The news channel narrates that there's a citywide police strike is about to happen. Half the force has already walked off.
Right.
It's going to happen at midnight tonight. And so Boddicker walks into the OCP headquarters. The staff is cleaning up from what had happened the prior day, walks up to the assistant and is just disgusting to her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I need to see Dick Jones, but then he's just really inappropriate with her. Turns out the actress who played that secretary, it was his wife.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that was Kurtwood Smith's wife who was playing the secretary.
Yeah, he takes his gum out and sticks it on her name tag.
Yeah.
And then when he goes to see Jones, he's like, "Keep the gum." He's so gross.
Yeah, but it's oh god, it just
I didn't realize that was his wife. That's fun.
Yeah. And so Jones yells at Boddicker, says, "RoboCop recorded your confession, implicating me. His memory is admissible as evidence. You have to go kill him now."
Right.
Before RoboCop can submit it. So Jones gives Boddicker RoboCop tracker as well as military grade weaponry.
Yes.
So we see Lewis driving up to the steel mill where she stashed RoboCop. She removes his helmet. RoboCop's telling her, "I can't remember my family, but I can feel them." And so just a nice little kind of tender moment between the two. cut back to out in the street at night as there's riots everywhere, looting everywhere. Emil's just standing on the sidewalk watching his favorite show, It's Not My Problem, which is the whole I'd buy that for $1. And he's just watching TV like through a storefront and just laughing.
Just having a great time.
Yeah. It's just looting everywhere. And so Boddicker Joe and Leon pull up, and he has these new, like, basically like grenade launchers. It's like a sniper rifle / grenade launcher that they have. And so basically they all get together, they use the tracker, they see that Robocop is back in the steel mill, and so they go there, to finish off the job. And so at the mill, Robocop, Lewis is helping him to, reestablish his targeting software by shooting the cans of baby food, because that's what he eats.
Yeah.
Baby food.
Shoot your food.
Yeah.
Your tracking's back on, but now you're hungry.
Yeah. You really use some split peas right about now.
Right, man. Smash bananas.
Yeah, I need my potassium. So after the bad guys arrive and stop Robocop, looking for me, as he stands on a catwalk and shoots and kills Joe.
Yes.
So in the Emil has been in the van the whole time, so they try to surround him. So Emil is in this van and is basically tries to run down Robocop, but of course they're as you do in these types of scenes in these movies, there's a gigantic vat of labeled toxic waste.
It's labeled toxic waste.
It all caps. And so Robocop sidesteps the van, causing Emil to crash directly into this just oozing this toxic waste all over him.
Flushes it out the back.
Yeah. And so we see Emil, who's just been bathed in this toxic waste, get out, and his flesh is melted.
Oh yeah, he's so drippy. But not in modern day. Not that kind of drip, kids. The old school drip, where literally his flesh is dripping off.
It's dripping and melting off of him. He goes up to Leon. Help me!
I love it. Leon's like, get away!
Don't touch me, man! I love that moment.
I do too.
So Boddicker is back in his car. So he has a 6000 SUX that he's driving. And we get the great shot of Emil kind of lumbering into frame from the side. It's because Boddicker Lewis is pursuing Boddicker.
Lewis is chasing Boddicker.
Yeah, in her cop car, and he's in his car, and Boddicker runs his car directly into Emil, who just splatters.
It just liquefies him.
I mean, it's like throwing a fruit tray into the front of a train.
More like a fruit salad, so it's got all that juice in the bottom of it, because it's very splashy all over his windshield.
I mean, it's like Gallagher's up there.
That's actually how they shot the scene. They didn't. They didn't actually run into a man. They just had Gallagher. They put Kurtwood Smith in the car in the first 2 rows of a Gallagher concert. Gallagher show, and just sledge-o-matic all over it.
That would explain why Boddicker was wearing a tarp.
Well, he's behind the windshield. He was all right.
Yeah. And so Emil's dead, splattered against Boddicker's car. Lewis arrives, and of course Boddicker then crashes.
Yeah, because he can't see.
Yeah, so Lewis pulls up to investigate it, but Boddicker gets out and shoots her several times, wounding her. Robocop then lumbers up. Boddicker gives himself up. Yeah, you got me.
Robocop lumbers up in the the allegorical Jesus walking on water.
Sure.
Yeah. He comes walking around the corner. Clarence Boddicker. And but Boddicker gives himself up, but only because he sees what's going on.
Yeah, Boddicker over Robocop's shoulder sees that Leon, because again, this is a huge steel mill.
Yeah.
Has gotten into a huge crane, and which has literally tons of steel beams hovering over. And so Leon is basically, it's like the claw game.
Yes.
Positioning the claw above Robocop. So Boddicker is just basically buying Leon time, and Leon drops in tons of steel just directly on Robocop, pinning him to the ground. And Leon yells, "I got him, Clarence!" As Lewis had grabbed the cannon that Boddicker had, it shoots and blows up Leon. In this
she'd army crawled through the water to get to that cannon.
Yeah. So Leon's dead. So it's just heavily wounded Lewis, Robocop pinned under all the steel, and Boddicker grabs like a steel spike, basically, that's just sitting around there and starts, just jabbing it into Robocop. However, in doing so, Boddicker gets close enough that Robocop unleashes that data spike that he used earlier and jabs it into, like Wolverine style, jabs it into Boddicker's neck. And you don't see it enter his neck, but you see like Robocop, the camera stays with Robocop as he does it, and you see as he pulls his arm out, this giant chunk of flesh just splatter, fall down and splatter against Robocop.
Flesh and blood just it worked.
Yes. And then it cuts to to Boddicker just stumbling around with his hand on his neck, and just gallons of blood just squirting out of his neck. So violent.
Very violent.
Yes. And so, Lewis yells to Murphy, Murphy, I'm a mess. And he responds, they'll fix you. They fix everything.
Right. Cut to an OCP logo.
So, last scene of the movie, back at OCP headquarters, Dick Jones is presenting to the board about deploying Ed 209s due to the police strike. So here's the opportunity. Robocop pulls up in the busted car and uses one of those big grenade launchers to blow the top off of an Ed 209 who was downstairs protecting the building.
Because Dick Jones had even said there's one downstairs now.
And so back to Jones, Robocop busts into this boardroom, says Dick Jones is wanted for murder, but my programming will not allow me to arrest an officer at OCP. Robocop plugs himself into the TV and plays for the whole room the recording of Jones confessing that he had Morton killed. And so Jones pulls a gun, takes the old man hostage. However, the old man kind of sees what's going on and just yells, like, Dick Jones, you're fired, which erases the Directive 4 from Robocop's HUD.
Elbows him in the gut to get away.
And Robocop just goes, thank you, and then violently shoots Dick Jones several times, who crashes out of the glass window and falls several stories to his death.
Lengthening his arms in the process.
That's going to come up later.
Gotcha.
Robocop twirls his gun and holsters it. The old man asks Robocop, what's your name, son? Murphy. And we see Robocop on screen, credits roll, music thumps. What a movie, Oz.
Oh, I love this movie.
1987's Robocop. Hey, every week, Oz and I give our own unique rating to the film we yap about, in this case, Robocop. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm going to give this movie $1.
$1. I'd buy that for $1.
$1. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it 4 directives.
Ooh, nice.
Makes sense, the in-canon references. I like it when we're able to do that. Next up, folks, every week Oz and I scour the interweb searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well in this week's edition of Outside Insights. Hey Oz, what is your outside insight?
I've got a half-star review by Terry Sheehan.
Okay.
On Letterboxd, left last August. He says, and I quote, Robocop equals robo-trash. I detest this movie with an irrationality that flies in the face of all objective assessment. There's nothing to speak of in terms of style or substance here. This film is genuinely mean-spirited and violent as HE-double hockey sticks. Director Paul Verhoeven is a schlockmeister at best, and this film is simply a polished turd. Any attempt to assert that this movie has artistry or satirical aspirations is totally ludicrous. Watching this film is a dispiriting exercise in self-abuse. On a scale of suckage, Robocop maxes out at 10. Avoid this dreck.
On a scale of suckage.
So that's a review I don't agree with.
Okay, got it.
So what do you have?
I got 2 I'm going to share. Both, as always, come from the Internet Movie Database. First one is a 2 out of 10, left in March of 2003 by Counter Revolutionary. Okay. Tagline, possibly the most overrated movie of all time.
Well, I don't know. Have you seen that movie with the legendary Mia Sarah?
Legends, Mia Sarah. I saw that Patreon subscriber .s.
I think he liked that.
He liked that bit.
He liked that through line.
He liked that. That's for you, .s. All right, leaving aside the sophomoric satire that seems for some unfathomable reason to have impressed far too many people, Robocop is just a big, dumb, overblown action flick. This would have been a perfect vehicle for Steven Seagal, who pretty much acts like a robot anyway, if it had been made a year or two later. On the other hand, my taste in that of the American public does not run exactly parallel, thank God. Statistically speaking, given that everyone else seems to absolutely love this piece of garbage, you probably will too. So watch it if you're impressed by red-colored Caro's syrup and exploding stuff. But if you happen to notice that it's continually insulting your intelligence, remember, I'm the one who warned you.
Give me credit when I deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord.
The other one is a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Left in April 2022, so just a couple years ago at the time of this recording. Left by Jesse Gehrig. I think that's Lou's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
400th movie review.
Oh.
Technically, it's 412 because I have problems. But regardless of my
problems, my problem is I have a tendency to round down.
Yeah. But regardless of my failings, I decided that 412 is pretty close to 400. And dadgummit, I'm going to celebrate my 400th IMDb review. So Robocop is about the 1980s and cocaine. Thanks, Jesse Gehrig.
It's actually 412, but I have problems.
I have problems.
Like I'm obese,
Yeah,
so
like, I have problems. Robocop is about the 1980s and cocaine.
That's what it's about.
That's it. All right, hey folks, it's that point in the show you've all been waiting for, the Let's Talk About Flicks signature segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about this week's movie, Robocop. Oz, my friend, what are your 3 goods?
My first one is that I've mentioned it a couple of times. I really enjoy how the bad guys are fleshed out character-wise.
Yes.
That is when you've got a good guy versus bad guy situation. It would have been so easy to just focus on Boddicker as the fully formed nemesis, but they really did flesh out his whole gang, and I think it definitely added to the film.
Yeah.
My second is I like the hyper violence of this movie, because it takes it to another level that really does remove it from feeling too acceptable. So much of this movie is grounded in labor disputes and like a cop precinct that looks legit. These aren't futuristic cars, and this is still like everything. It's just got a little future tinge to it. And so adding that hyper violence really sets it apart to really drive home the full piece of like, this is fiction. Like, that this is, we've got these, these ground cannons, and, it's just, I enjoyed it. I thought the movie was already elevated itself in terms of nonsensical stuff, that adding that is like, why not? It just fits, it really further separates what the bad guys are capable of in terms of, what the good guys are capable of.
Yeah.
And so, and my third one is I really enjoy all the stop motion in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially the 600 SUX commercial. Because it wasn't overdone with the stop motion, but they did it when they needed to, and they did it in a convincing way. Like Ed 209 was always stop motion, but they layered it well to where he was stop motion, but he's still surrounded by human actors, and I really enjoyed it. Those are my 3 goods.
Well, and I'll add on to one of your goods because I have so many to pick from.
Yeah, I know. You told me you got 13.
Yeah, I think it's close to 20. Okay. Just like Ed 209 sounds.
Yes,
like the sound foleying they did for that was just great. Like it was like a leopard roar,
right? And
then the pig squealing.
But even then, like it was the recording of a leopard roar, which I mean, it had enough of that like tinny radio sound to it.
Yeah.
that it wasn't, and again, it's just that level of thought of like the pig squeal sounded like a pig squealing, but the leopard roar sounded like a recording of a leopard roar. Like it was compressed and it was just, well done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go get something to drink while you go through
while
your
I go
goods.
through my 17 goods.
Yeah. I'll be back in about 15 minutes.
I'm looking at my list and I'm trying to narrow down, like, here's some backups. Peter Weller scream of agony as he's being shot. That is like, if somebody could sell just screaming in pain, Peter Weller nailed it.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God, Kurtwood Smith's charisma. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, okay, here we go. Here's my. I would say Nancy Allen can throw a right cross.
She can.
Yeah. So here's my real goods. Let's go with. Oh man. I really like this the scene in the steel mill right before the fight happened between Lewis and Murphy, as she's helping him get his feet back under him. She gets his weapons. She brings him the baby food. She helps him retarget. She doesn't panic when he reveals his face,
right?
To her.
And he even warns her, "You're not, you're not going to like what you see."
Mm-hmm. So just that scene, as big as this movie is, and over the top as it is. It's going back to one of your themes, the movie being grounded.
Yeah.
It's not that they knew each other too terribly well, but she recognized that this is a good person.
Yeah.
And
he still didn't, and he didn't deserve what happened to him.
Correct.
And I'm glad that they completely avoided any sort of romance between them.
Yes. Thank you.
They established he was a married man. She followed up with, I did some research. Your wife, when you died, she moved on, but they still left it as, I'm your partner. Like, we worked together, and I'm so glad they avoided any sort of romantic whatever.
Yes, thank you. So that's my first good, is just that scene. My second one, let's go with just, I'm going to put a couple together. Just the whole big Act 3 fight scene at the steel mill.
Yeah.
The whooshing sound as Boddicker's, Lewis is there's a car chase and Boddicker loses a hubcap and it flies past the camera and it makes this great whoosh sound as it flies past, and of course just Emil and the toxic waste.
I know, it's so
good.
It is,
and not just the effects, the acting.
Help me! Well, and honestly, get off me, man! And it really, like, its inclusion it only added to the moment. Like, you don't add that toxic waste part, the movie doesn't change at all. Like, you figure out a different way to get rid of Emil and the movie's fine. But by building that in of let's go ahead and dress this up, we're going to make him gruesome, and then this is a reason why Boddicker can't drive carefully. It's like it layered it in. And
because he's got fruit salad all over his windshield.
Exactly. Yeah. Someone spewed. If you're going to spew
it was 20 gallons of ambrosia salad.
It's pretty much
a lot of marshmallow and coconut in there too.
Yeah. It's so gross.
And my last good is public unions. This whole movie centers around a labor dispute.
Oh yeah.
And the public police union, which is being heavily funded by OCP, they've had enough. So I mean, pay your public, recognize the value of public unions.
Give them a safe working environment.
Correct. Tip my cap to public safety unions, fire, police, of course, educational unions, certain federal unions. So public unions is my third good.
Well done.
All right, Oz, what are your two bads?
My first one is Murphy standing while taking all that gunfire in the warehouse. Like, it's one thing to get shot. It's one thing to get shot once, but he literally stood there and took multiple shotgun blasts to the body while standing. Just so that's my first bad. It's like, he should have the first shotgun blast should have knocked him on his back.
Yes.
And then if you want to lay into him. But it's like, no, he just stood there and took it. My second bad is Dick Jones ripping Boddicker for having his like, he records everything.
Yep. And then he did the same thing
after he had already done the same thing. Because it was when he monologued to Robocop and then unleashed Ed 209 on him. And then RoboCop got away from Ed 209. And that's when he called Boddicker in and was be like, you idiot. He recorded everything you told him about me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just did the same thing.
Yep.
Like literally, like you're still in the office after monologuing to him. So that's my second bad is Dick Jones ripping on Boddicker for confessing to RoboCop right after he himself confessed to RoboCop.
Exactly. So, yep. Well said.
What are your two bads?
My first is one that I insinuated at a moment ago. So, right at the end, we're seconds from the end of the movie. RoboCop shoots Dick Jones and he crashes through the window and he falls out. And the puppet they used, the arms were way too long.
Yeah, it was not a good puppet.
No, it wasn't a good puppet.
It's like it was like the only. Like they've been doing stop motion for everything, and then they're like, "Let's try claymation while we're at it." And then we've got all this extra clay. What should we do with it? Just throw it on his arms.
Yeah, we're not going to not use the clay.
It's like budget stuff. Like if we don't use the clay, we won't get that much clay in the next movie's budget. Got to use it or you lose it.
They're not going to let us use that clay when we make Tango and Cash.
Exactly.
I'm assuming that was the next movie in the series.
Well, yeah. It's the next Rob Bottin movie was Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash. My other bad is people who enjoy this movie and similar movies that they think is glorifying police perpetrated violence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's people who are cheering this movie on because it's cops like shooting and being too violent with the bad guys. It's like when RoboCop is reading Boddicker's rights and he's just tossing him around the big cocaine manufacturing plant. It's the same thing as people who cheer on the Punisher.
Yes.
Punisher's not a hero.
No.
And you can argue it's even a stretch that Punisher's an anti-hero. Like the Punisher is about as anti-hero as you can get while even coming close to sniffing the word hero.
Yeah.
Like, Punisher's not a good guy.
Punisher's a vigilante.
Yes. It's like, it's people who, and they actually brought this up in the last, have you been watching the new season of Daredevil?
No.
I
just don't have time.
Sure. Yeah. You've been very busy and I get that. I've been watching it in pieces, bit by bit, and I'm halfway through the last episode. But there's cops in the new season of Daredevil who basically they use Punisher's symbol as a rallying point. And
Got it.
Like one of them kills a hero vigilante while wearing the Punisher logo, and another one inscribes the Punisher logo into his bullets. So it's like I get worried when I see people in authority, wearing Punisher shirts and logos, and you see that logo a little too much these days.
Yes.
Punisher's not somebody to celebrate.
No.
And
taking matters into your own hands isn't always an acceptable form of retaliation.
Yeah. Or even done under the guise of, and again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm ripping law enforcement. Most people who go into that field, it's a noble profession.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing things the right way. But it's when people glorify police, law enforcement perpetrated violence too much.
Right.
It's the good guys and the bad guys. No, like it's called due process.
Yes.
Do it the right way.
Yeah, and for those law enforcement guys that get excited when things escalate, those pretty much the ones we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, heck yeah,
Yeah, it's public safety.
Your tackleberries, for example.
Tackleberry is the Punisher.
Yes.
I could see that actor with that jawline as the Punisher.
Yeah.
Instead of Tom Jane.
Exactly. I dug into Rob Bottin just so we knew what movie he was going to need a clay budget for.
Okay.
His next movie was Total Recall.
There you go.
Yeah. So if he didn't use the extra clay on Dick Jones's arms, then we wouldn't have had the clay to put on the woman's face in the airport. So
or there's a movie, or there's a scene in Total Recall where oh god, what's the actor's name? The guy from Scanners.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Not Schwarzenegger.
Michael Ironside.
Yes, thank you, Michael Ironside.
Iron Mike Sharp.
Iron Mike Sharp, where Iron Mike Sharp's arms get ripped off.
Yes.
So there's another, troubling arm scene.
If I didn't use the clay for Dick Jones, we wouldn't have enough clay for Quado. Looking at Rob Bottin, he also worked on Legend with the legendary Mia Sara.
Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Of course. Yeah. So there's our through line.
Yeah,
This could have been Legend Month.
It's Mia Sara month.
Mia Sara month. Mia Sara adjacent month.
Exactly. 6 degrees of Mia Sara.
You beat me to it. I was just going to say that. That's how that phrase goes, right?
Yeah. It was Legend, and then Witches of Eastwick, Interspace, Robocop, Total Recall, Robocop 2, Bugsy, Basic Instinct, Robocop 3. But he also worked on 7, Fight Club, Game of Thrones, Mr. Deeds. He's responsible for the frostbutton foot, I imagine. So,
oh hey Oz, what's your
okay, Robocop he's out. He's getting ready to leave the precinct for the first time on patrol. He's walking through. They toss the keys. He grabs the keys midair and just keeps walking. Cut to him driving away. Did Robocop do any seat mirror adjustments before driving off for the first time, or did he just get in and go? That's my is I would have liked to seen the scene, because again, first day on the job where he's safety first. I would have liked to see him get in there, adjusting the mirror, putting on a seatbelt, like adjusting the seat. Doesn't do it. Doesn't do any of that. They're tossing the keys to a cop, and he takes those keys, knows what car to get in, but doesn't do any adjusting. So that's my Did Robocop do any off-camera seat or mirror adjustments before driving off for the first time?
Makes sense. I'd like to think that he used his digital access spike, and he just shoved it into the car, and that's how he adjusted everything.
There was no interface for said spike, because he's brand new technology. They haven't retrofitted the cars for his spike, but he still nonetheless just jammed the spike into like the cigarette lighter. And somehow it all worked.
And that's how he adjusted the mirror. That's how he changed the radio station.
Yeah, it's every car's got a Robocop setting that he just needs to jam his spike in, and it adjusts to his restraints. So.
I would love to have seen the scene where he goes to put a seatbelt on, but he pulls it too quick, and so it sticks. And he gets mad at it. Stupid.
And then the door craters in on itself as he just pulls it.
He pulls it too hard.
Like, we never saw Robocop learn how to drive, so
it's true.
Yeah, he's very good at it.
I'd also love to see Robocop going through the drive-through.
Right?
What kind of baby food do you have?
Right. Yeah, I'll have a beech nut applesauce and a Gerber strained peas.
I'll have a number 3 biggie size with extra mashed carrots.
Exactly. It's like Robocop. This is Jimmy John's. Just give me mayonnaise.
You see him at 7-Eleven, instead of like next to like the Slurpee machine, there's the baby food thing. Exactly. It just fills up a big gulp.
Yeah, between Robocop 1 and 2, the entire city of Detroit retrofits itself to fit Robocop's needs.
Yeah.
Despite him still being the only Robocop. Like,
every 7-Eleven has it.
Every one of them. So what's your
Oh, my and we kind of mentioned this before, but I'll go back to this So again, as RoboCop leaves the station in his car, he always bottoms out the car.
Yes.
So why in the world is there such a high angle to drive out of the police station?
I think it was it's ahead of its time. You know, launch angle's a big deal in baseball these days. It was to give these cars, when you get to the top of that hill,
a good running start. Yeah.
When you get to the top of that hill, you don't want your police cars to have to wait on traffic to turn.
So you just launch them over the traffic.
You launch them over the traffic into the police lane, and then they can go about their business.
Okay. It's kind of like when you jump, those really big like water slides.
Yeah.
It's like when you run and you jump into the water slide.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That extra velocity is going to matter. But I think it's for the launch angle of the police cars.
It's the launch angle. Yeah.
Yep. Of these like Chevy Capris.
Yep. So that's my So that my friend is Robocop,
Oh, I love
1987's Robocop. What a great movie.
It really is.
Yeah. And one that, as you said before, holds up. This movie really holds up, especially when you layer in the themes.
Yes.
If this was just your standard sci-fi movie, it would live on as a decent of its era sci-fi action movie. But when you put in everything else, that's what makes this movie really stand out.
Yeah, which is sad that here we are, nearly 40 years later, and we still struggle, if not more so, with these same themes.
Yep. Again, this episode is being recorded in mid-April 2025, for the record.
So,
yep.
Well, we've got...
We got one more in our...
We got one and a half more movies.
Yes, in our mini cop month. And you've been laughing because I've been seeding in references to it throughout today.
Yes, you have. We are going to... Normally, we have our themes run at least 4 weeks. But because of the overabundance of Patreons, getting 6 weeks worth, we only had 3 weeks left in April. But we're still trying to cram in as many cops as we can. And so we went Time Cop to Robocop. We're going to get close to 4 cops in 3 weeks. As we're going to watch next week, Cop and a Half.
Yes, we are.
We're going to get 1.5 cops in next week. The Burt Reynolds Ray Sharkey vehicle.
Yes, the Holland Taylor co-starring.
Yes, the #1 at the box office when it debuted.
Yes, the made almost 3 times its budget.
Yes,
Cop and a Half.
Cop and a Half, directed by Henry Winkler. And scored by Alan Silvestri. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this movie is at a 4.2 on IMDb.
So, I haven't watched a Burt Reynolds movie in a long time. So I'm looking forward to revisiting Gator.
We'll have that'll be coming up in reptile theme month.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
which we could actually do. We could work in a reptile month.
We could even do a whole movie of just crocodile alligator, but we could watch Lake Placid, Gator, even though I don't know if there's a gator in it. We could easily do that.
I just added reptile month to the list.
Good pull. And again, Reptile Month doesn't necessarily have to have a reptile in it. It just needs to be reptile.
Just a reference to it.
We should change it to Reptile Month.
Oh, I love it.
Reptiles.
Yes.
References to reptiles in the title.
Yeah.
Reptile.
I'm already excited for this month.
Reptile Month.
Reptile Month, yes. Must have reference to a reptile in the title. I love it. Cobra.
Yeah. Gator. Cobra.
Done.
Put them in. So you're watching how our minds work live here, folks.
This is how the show unfolds. This is our planning behind the scenes.
This is on screen behind the scenes planning.
Yes.
All right. But next month we're going to be covering Cop and a Half. And you've seen it. I have not.
I did. I watched it yesterday with Patreon subscriber Melissa L. I will say it's better than a 4.3. Right. I don't know how much better.
Right.
But
at least half better.
It's half better than a 4.3.
I mean, we've been surprised by some movies that we had low expectations.
Yeah, like Street Fighter is a good example of it. Was it a good movie? No.
Three Men and a Little Lady.
Yes,
was better than we anticipated.
Surprisingly better than we thought it would be.
And I think Leonard Nimoy directed that one. So there's something about TV actors moving to the director's chair.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, so we've picked some movies that we anticipated being duds and joking about, and they ended up being not too bad.
Not awful. Still not good.
No, but one that we've also watched some where we feel like we've completely wasted our time watching this movie.
Yeah.
But even like that month of like Hallmark Christmas movies wasn't awful for most of it.
Wasn't. Well, yeah, they weren't train wrecks. Again, they weren't good, but they were train wreck of movies.
Right. And so we're gonna watch Cop and a Half for next week. So,
yes, we are.
Social media wise, Facebook, Instagram, and that's about it really. TikTok's there. If you want to see some stuff that I posted before, go for it. But Patreon link is down below, and other than that, we got one more episode in Cop Movie Month, and we'll reveal next month's theme next week.
Yes, excited for next month.
Yes, it'll be a good one, and it's not Rep Title Month.
No, it's unfortunately it's not Rep Title.
Although we may be tempted to swap something out later.
We
this year
might have to, just so we can keep saying Rep Title.
Right. So yeah, that'll be. God Lord, we've got so many themes. Yeah, we're good for several more years, folks. But no, for another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
We'll see you guys next week with Cop and a Half.
Drop it.